Hello, dear listeners. How are you all? Hope all will be fine. I'm Callum, and I bring you scary ghost and amazing mystery stories. So today I am going to tell you the story of a babysitter who spends the night in a house to take care of a child. What happens to her that night that she never goes back to this house again? Listen to the story till the end. Before starting the story, please like the video. And if you have come to our channel for the first time, then also subscribe to the channel. So let's start the story. My story began one night when I agreed to babysit for a family in Adams Center, New York. This was a very old stone house which had been built reportedly in the late 1800s. The family had not lived in this house very long, and they had called to see if I would come to their home and babysit for their baby daughter. I was 17 years old at the time, and I have always loved taking care of children and eagerly accepted, also knowing that would lead to additional babysitting jobs, which meant some spending money for myself. My dad drove me to their house and dropped me off about 4 p.m. It was already dark outside because it was winter time. I was told they wanted me to stay overnight and then go home the next morning, as they would not arrive back to the house until around 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. the next morning and would be too tired to drive me home. When I walked into the entryway, I felt like someone had suddenly touched my head and ran their hand down my shoulder-length hair. I turned around expecting the father to be there and was ready to yell at him when I realized that there was no one behind me. It was so real, but I chalked it up to my imagination. Once inside, they gave me the information I needed for taking care of their daughter and stated if I had any problems I would not be able to get in contact with them, as there was no telephone where they were going. However, they stated that if I got scared or needed help, to call 911 if there was a problem. I fed, changed, and played with the baby, and then after giving her a bath, I rocked her to sleep. I gently brought her upstairs and placed her in her crib and left her baby lamp on so I could check on her if she woke up. After making sure she was sound asleep, I began walking downstairs when I felt a very cold breeze on my arms. It was so cold that the goosebumps on my arms were very visible, and where I had been warm and comfy just a few minutes ago, I was now freezing. I went downstairs to the living room and checked the thermostat. I thought it says it is 72 degrees, but it didn't feel like it at all. I sat down on the couch and turned television on. At 1:20 a.m., I was wide awake, and suddenly, out of the blue with no warning, there was a loud knock, knock, knock on the wall next to where the couch was. It really scared me, because other than for the baby, I was there all alone and was getting really scared at this time. I went into the next room and searched, but found absolutely nothing that would have caused those sounds. After about 20 minutes, I again heard 3 more bangs on the wall. It sounded like someone was trying to hit my head, but instead got the wall directly behind me. When it happened a 3rd time, I jumped up off the couch and ran upstairs to make sure that the baby was okay. She was sound asleep. Me, though, I was not okay. I was shaking and absolutely terrified. I didn't really want to go back downstairs, but once again began feeling really stupid that I had probably imagined it. I switched the television to a different channel and began watching a movie when suddenly the air in the living room felt electrified, and then there was a very loud and drawn-out scream. That scream's origin was right there in the same room as I was, and yet I saw no one. It was so loud that I screamed and ran out of the room into the kitchen. I can tell you that this scream was from someone who was, or had been, terrified. I slowly walked back out into the living room, but again saw nothing. I was suddenly overwhelmed with sheer dread. It was so bad that I felt if I hadn't left that room, that I was going to be attacked or killed. I was shaking really bad by this time, and the only thing I wanted to do was to get out of there once and for all. I then realized that I was crying hysterically. I ran upstairs and stayed with the baby until the next morning when her parents had arrived home. Once they were there and in the house, I came downstairs and explained everything that had happened. This couple looked right at me and stated, "We are so sorry. We had hoped that this would have been a quiet night without any problems." I assured them that I wasn't crazy and that everything I had told them was absolutely true. It was then that the wife told me that a woman had been violently killed in the living room by an intruder back in the early 1900s, but didn't know or care about getting specific facts. I stated in no uncertain terms, "I will never come back to babysit here again." What I told you had really happened, and I was terrified for my own safety, as well as for your daughter's safety. The baby's father told me, "It doesn't happen every night." His wife hit him in the arm and said, "He is only kidding." He looked at her and said, "Cheryl, I am telling you the truth. We have heard this scream and had these same occurrences, but neither of us have ever seen anyone or been able to explain what it was." I left there as fast as I could, and to my own word, I never ever went there again. All I have to do is think about how that long and drawn-out, terrifying scream sounded, and I still get the chills down my neck and arms. Every time I drive by that home, I still can hear that scream and remember how terrified I was that night.